Welcome. I'm Leslie Wharton, the chair of Elders Climate Action, and I'm so excited to kick off tonight's gala by welcoming you here. We're so excited you have joined us to celebrate Elders Climate Action's 10th anniversary. Can you believe it? 10 years. Wow. Time really does fly, and we have so much to celebrate. Since we are a national organization with members spread across the country, we had to get creative about how to celebrate with all of you. Tonight, we will share with you messages from our members, our partners, our staff, and volunteer leadership who coordinate all of ECA's efforts. You'll hear how we got started from a few of our founding members. You'll learn from some of our partners, members, and staff more about the impacts ECA is having, and you'll hear from some of ECA's chapters and volunteer leadership some of the specific ways they are pursuing climate solutions. As the Elders Climate Action members, we are determined to do all we can to leave a sustainable planet for future generations and to make sure younger generations don't feel like we left the crisis for them alone to solve. We understand that our generation is largely responsible for the crisis and that we have an obligation to the generations that come after us to help solve it. As you know, ECA is elder-centered and volunteer-driven. What you may not know is that ECA emerged from a small group of dedicated individuals who understood the urgency of action and hoped to spark others to act. Initially starting with one-on-one phone calls, ECA gained about 250 members in its first year and has grown to tens of thousands of elders today. Paul Severance called me. That's how I got involved. We wouldn't be Elders Climate Action without all of you. You're the reason we are celebrating today. Before we get started, please introduce yourself and tell us in the chat box where you're from and when and how you got involved in ECA. Once again, welcome. Now let's celebrate.
Hi friends, Drew Dellinger here, sending along huge congratulations to Elders Climate Action on your 10th anniversary. It's such important work you're doing for the biosphere, for all creatures, for the entire Earth community, and for future generations. And so in honor and in support of your amazing and important work, I want to offer this poem. It's from my book, Love Letter to the Milky Way, and this poem is called Hieroglyphic Stairway. It's 3:23 in the morning, and I'm awake because my great-great-grandchildren won't let me sleep. My great-great-grandchildren ask me in dreams, what did you do while the planet was plundered? What did you do when the earth was unraveling? Surely you did something when the seasons started failing, as the mammals, reptiles, birds were all dying. Did you fill the streets with protest when democracy was stolen? What did you do once you knew? I'm riding home on the Gala train. I've got the voice of the Milky Way in my dreams. I have teams of scientists feeding me data daily and pleading I immediately turn it into poetry. I have teams of scientists feeding me data daily and pleading I immediately turn it into poetry. I want just this consciousness reached by people in range of secret frequencies contained in my speech. I am the desirous earth, equidistant to the underworld and the flesh of the stars. I am everything already lost. The moment the universe turns transparent and all the light shoots through the cosmos, I use words to instigate silence. I'm a hieroglyphic stairway in a buried Mayan city, suddenly exposed by a hurricane, a satellite circling Earth, finding dinosaur bones in the Gobi Desert. I am telescopes that see back in time. I am the precession of the equinoxes, the magnetism of the spiraling sea. I'm riding home on the Gala train with the voice of the Milky Way in my dreams. I am myths where violets blossom from blood like dying and rising gods. I am the precession of the equinoxes, soul encountering soul and tongues of fire. It's 3:23 in the morning, and I can't sleep because my great grandchildren ask me in dreams, what did you do when the earth was unraveling? I want just this consciousness reached by people in range of secret frequencies contained in my speech. So, congratulations to Elders Climate Action on your 10th anniversary. Thank you so much for all your important work. I'm honored to stand in solidarity with you. I'm honored to march with you. Thank you, and let's continue all our efforts on behalf of the Earth community. Blessings.
We just heard the inspiring words of Drew Dellinger. What did you do once you knew? Such powerful words, powerful enough to grow roots in John Sorensen's heart and inspire him to found Conscious Elders Network, which later became known as Elders Action Network. Soon after, its flagship project, Elders Climate Action, began. I'm Diana Shoemaker, Executive Director of Elders Action Network.
And I'm Crystal Gleistein, Program and Communications Manager of Elders Action Network.
We are so proud of the ways ECA members have turned their collective concern about the climate crisis into a powerful force for collective action. As the largest voting bloc in the United States, elders hold tremendous political power, resources, time, and wisdom necessary to ensure a livable planet and a healthy future for generations to come. We are grateful you have joined Elders Climate Action in this effort and that you are here tonight. As you heard from Leslie, ECA is elder-centered and volunteer-driven. Everything you see at Elders Climate Action and every action you take is because another elder climate activist like yourself stepped forward to give their time, talents, and treasure. EAN and ECA have a very small but highly effective staff who help bring the vision of our members and leaders to life.
Your financial contributions, big or small, go a long way at ECA. And tonight we are excited to offer a special gift, an autographed 11 by 17 printed poster of Drew Dellinger's hieroglyphic stairway. For donations over $100 and for gifts over $250, you will receive a book of poetry, Love Letters from the Milky Way, signed by Drew. And for $500, you will receive both an autographed poster and book of poems. The poster looks beautiful when framed and is a standard frame size. It makes a great gift, and the holidays are not too far away, so make sure you take advantage of this limited time offer.
I hope you will be moved to support ECA so that we can continue to mobilize elder generations to act. Now, let's hear from John Sorensen, Elders Action Network's founder, about some of the inspiration and vision that brought us all here today.
Thank you, Diana. When I stopped working for a paycheck in 2009, I was not ready to retire, so I began a search for what I would do in the years ahead. I knew to not think small, to do something that could involve lots of people to take on America's big problems. For example, I was well aware that we had a growing global warming problem. Confronting such problems would provide us with a meaning and purpose and ways to give back. I decided to work with elders, people with lifetimes of gained wisdom and assets to harness. But we needed to organize to manage our actions. I spent a year asking older people if they'd be interested. I found 40 who were, and I invited them to meet for 3 days in San Francisco suburb of Burlingame in April of 2014 to launch our Elders Activist organization. 2 of those were Paul Severance and his friend Gary Cornell. During our meeting, they came to me with the idea of elders meeting with members of Congress in Washington, D.C. on Grandparents' Day to urge them to take action on our growing global warming problem. I immediately said, yes, you guys come up with a plan. Fortunately, Paul had many years of community organizing, so he was a natural to launch Elders Climate Action, or ECA, as our action group within our organization. With Paul's guidance, ECA pursued Project to go to DC in September of 2015. That we did. We were bold and we thought and acted big. Since then, ECA has grown to reach and engage thousands of elders. With that, happy 10th anniversary, Elders Climate Action. We have much to be proud of.
And upon retirement, I began to focus my attention on what organized seniors could do for younger generations, especially related to the huge risk that climate change poses for all of us. Then I discovered that John Sorensen was way ahead of me in thinking about this. We shared our concerns and our hopes, and together we developed the idea of Elders Climate Action. We decided to organize an event in Washington, D.C. There was some important climate legislation that was floundering in Washington at the time, and we thought that needed to be spoken about and a good opportunity for elders to flex their muscle, so to speak. So we invited several other organizations to join us, and we held Grandparents Climate Action Day on September 9th, 2015. On that event, delegations of elders visited the offices of 25 U.S. senators. We held a national webcast, which people joined from 67 locations around the country. And the real fun part, we held flash mobs at Union Station and the Longworth House office building to generate national publicity for our efforts. That really kicked off the growth of Elders Climate Action. And here we are with a vibrant national organization of elders making a difference for future generations. Wow. Although I have been sidelined by health issues, I am so thrilled about how the organization has developed and the difference you all are making. And I am so proud and hopeful and optimistic that ECA can continue its growth into the kind of powerful national voice that our great-grandchildren and their children will need to protect them from the devastation of climate change. Thank you for all that you are doing.
Everyone, it's an honor to be with you for this very important milestone for ECA. You all have achieved a great deal in the past 10 years. I first became involved with ECA shortly after my retirement, and I had decided then that I had plenty more to contribute to society. Late in 2014, I received a call from Paul Severance, who told me he was working on climate change issues with a group of elders. He also informed me that he, with Elders Climate Action, planned to go to Washington, D.C. with 1,500 elders for Grandparents' Day in 2015. I immediately said yes, as climate change and pollution had been a passion of mine ever since the very first Earth Day. We began meeting and planning with a small group of elders, and the rest is history. We traveled to DC in September with a somewhat smaller group, met with legislators, and learned more about the actions we could take when we arrived in our home states. We also felt empowered by being able to meet with our legislators. While working with ECA after our DC event, it became clear that we had some momentum and that there are elders with great wisdom, knowledge, and expertise, as well as having time to contribute to our mission. Shortly after that, Paul asked me to be co-chair with him, and we made a good team. With Paul's great organizing skills and my administrative and planning skills, as well as passion to move ECA forward, We went back to DC several times as we were now old hats at meeting with members of Congress, and each time we also had a day of fun, excitement, and learning. It became clear that climate and environmental issues were not the same in all parts of the country. So, what came next? Chapters. Chapters throughout the country addressing local and national issues, testifying at legislative hearings, partnering with other organizations to be the voice of elders. Our first chapter was in Massachusetts, and it has blossomed and grown from one chapter to now many chapters. I wish you all many more years of success, and I hope to greet you again at your 20th anniversary.
A lot has changed since ECA began. We started under the Obama administration and now have existed under 3 administrations. Our history helps us prepare to respond for a new administration in 2025. As an organization, we have become much better at strategizing and tactical planning. And while it seems that there may be many more organizations working on climate change, the work is more collaborative than ever and is changing the political will needed to respond to the crisis. Until the Biden administration, we didn't see much federal response in curbing greenhouse gas emissions or reducing our dependence on fossil fuel. Not only did we get the Inflation Reduction Act passed, but at present, multiple agencies are working on climate solutions. This year, we saw steady improvements in standards to prevent climate pollution coming from agencies like the Environmental Protection Agency. So while we celebrate our 10-year anniversary, let's also celebrate these climate wins. What are some of the things that you've noticed in the last 10 years? Share with us in the chat box. Steve, what has changed that I've missed?
It's like the famous Hazel Chandler just said, and believe me, she has been my inspiration for many years. In fact, ever since ECA got started. A lot has changed in the 8 years since when I joined ECA. And at that time, there wasn't that much in the literature, or actually in the journalistic literature in the press, about climate change. Paul Severance asked me to take over or help lead the policy group. And I said back then, of course, and communications team had a hard time really finding things. I was asked, dig up some articles. Well, I tried and I'd find a few, and the conversations were limited. Now, thankfully, conversations are happening everywhere in the media because climate change is definitely an issue, and we're living it right now. So yeah, we had conversations happening everywhere now in the media and in government, in most agencies. ECA really cut its teeth supporting the Paris Agreement, and we advocated for federal legislation through various phases, including having a major role in helping write the first and part of the second draft of the Vision for Equitable Climate Action. US CAN network, which had 180 members and over 100 co-authors. I was one on 2 different sections. And we were supporting the Green New Deal and the Build Back Better platform. And most importantly, it was one of the first documents that highlighted the need for environmental equity. It was very geared to our brothers and sisters on the Gulf Coast who are getting the worst effects, climate alleys, and people of lower income who are really impacted by climate change. That document really highlighted that. We went on and helped inform, by doing all this, the bipartisan infrastructure bill and the Inflation Reduction Act, which was finally passed in 2022. And the IRA, of course, offers the largest single investment in climate solutions in our nation's history. And over the last few years, we've broadened our targets within ECA across the movement. There are regular calls to action targeting banks, which I've been working on, insurance, which I work on in Connecticut industry, public utility commissions, and all levels of government. So all I can say is happy anniversary, Elders Climate Action. It's been a real pleasure being a member.
I'm Jen Chandler, Director of Elders Climate Action, and I have had the privilege to be part of ECA's community for 9 out of its 10 years. And I'm proud to be the daughter of one of ECA's founding members, Hazel Chandler, who you just heard from. It has been an honor to work across generations and alongside some of the most inspiring people I've known in my career. Here at ECA, we have done a lot with very little. When we began, we committed to 4 main goals: to push for policies and practices that keep greenhouse gas emissions below 1.5 degrees of global warming, to end US and global dependence on fossil fuels, to impact US climate policy at the local, state, and federal levels, and to support the intergenerational climate movement. This year, we're focusing our efforts on protecting current and future generations by phasing out fossil fuels, reducing greenhouse gas emissions, protecting and implementing the Inflation Reduction Act, informing voters, protecting the health and well-being of our communities, and ensuring social and environmental justice in every action and solution. ECA's goals and priorities are drawn directly from the interests of our leadership team and our more than 26,000 members. Working closely with our allies and within coalitions, ECA strives to unify our message within the collective climate movement to amplify our power. Last year, ECA's members sent more than 80,000 climate-related messages to key decision makers, including over 7,200 comments to the Environmental Protection Agency on critical climate pollution standards. And this year, as of early August, we've already delivered over 50,000 messages. We've been hosting phone banks to mobilize inactive voters, and we're about to deliver 20,000 postcards to voters. We can't solve the climate crisis by simply individually changing our behavior. At ECA, you're part of a community of folks who understand that we are more powerful, combining our voices as elders within the larger climate movement. We've seen collective action work with the signing of the Paris Accord, the passage of the Inflation Reduction Act, and the bipartisan infrastructure law, and again with the EPA's stronger standards to reduce climate pollution that were finalized this year. After receiving our 7,200 comments, the EPA even reached out to meet with us, so we know that our voice matters. The voices coming together from across the movement are making policy changes possible. We build power when we come together. So, who better to talk about the value of our impacts than a few of our closest partners? Let's start by hearing from Dominique Browning from Moms Clean Air Force, one of our very first, our most dear, and our longest partnerships.
Happy anniversary, Elders Climate Action. 10 years. Wow, what an accomplishment. I am Dominique Browning, co-founder and director of Moms Clean Air Force. Moms and the elders are longtime partners and allies. Over the years, we've worked together to push for solutions to many critical problems, especially air pollution, climate change, and their impacts on our health and the health of our families. At Moms, we've always understood the importance of working across generations to find solutions to the climate crisis. After all, many of my own colleagues are the age of my children, and some of my colleagues are discovering the joys of grandmothering along with me, too. When we combine our voices, as the elders and moms have done during legislative visits to the Hill, or through sharing petitions, or in person at rallies and events, we are more powerful. As parents and grandparents, we are the caretakers of our families. We are the protectors of their future. We must be good stewards of the planet. At Moms Clean Air Force, we see the ways that the elders have been able to do a lot with little, Your mighty team of volunteers has helped mobilize other elders, and together with the larger movement, we are seeing historic changes in our laws and regulations. Our work works. I think you can take it as a tribute that others are jumping into the same space to copy or be inspired by what you have created. A number of stronger air pollution standards passed by the EPA earlier this year would not have been possible without comments, testimony, and pressure from citizens. Moms Clean Air Force and Elders Climate Action and a powerful climate movement working together made these things happen. Our elders, grandparents, moms, dads, great aunts and uncles, and simply elder teachers, elder coaches, and elder friends, all of us are building the political will and changing the hearts and minds of decision makers. More is needed. We are being called to act in a crucial moment. We don't talk about what is at stake. We talk about who is at stake, our beloved children. The challenges we face are great. It takes intergenerational action, wisdom, and energy to build the future our children and grandchildren and their children deserve. We will be working alongside the members of Elder Climate Action for years to come. Most of all, in closing, I want to underline a key value that we both hold in common. We, the members of both of our organizations, work from a place of love, a place of hope. We know we can solve the urgent and difficult crisis of climate change because we are powered by love. Love, the most sustainable fuel on the planet. So here is a message of love to all of you, and thank you from the bottom of my heart for being such a wonderful partner.
Hello, Elders Climate Action. I'm Nathaniel Stinnett. For those of you who don't know me, I run the Environmental Voter Project. And I could not be happier than I am right now to congratulate you on your 10th anniversary. You know, when I started the Environmental Voter Project, it was a small one-city proof of concept starting in Boston, now almost 8 years ago. And just a few months after we started that little proof of concept, a man named Grady McGonigal reached out to me from Elders Climate Action to see if they could be helpful at all. And I ended up joining a call. A few weeks later, I was in Judy Weiss's apartment in Brookline, right outside of Boston, meeting many Elders Climate Action members. And I remember that meeting so well because I had just started this organization. And all of the ECA members I met there were not just kind and welcoming, but they were curious and ready to get to work. And as both of our organizations have grown over the years, that initial impression has stayed true. All of us at the Environmental Voter Project absolutely adore working with Elders Climate Action. And every time we do it, whether it's postcarding or calling or canvassing or back when we were texting, your kindness, your dedication, your hard work, your talent have made it such an enriching experience. And just this year alone, to give you an idea of all of the work that Elders Climate Action is doing just with the Environmental Voter Project, over 415 volunteers have signed up for shifts with EVP. You have now contacted over the past 8 years close to 1 million voters with us. And I hope you are extraordinarily proud of that. And I also hope that you recognize that the allyship and the solidarity that we feel working alongside you is a truly special feeling. We know that we aren't alone in the movement. We know that we have friends like you so that when we are tired, you will pick up the baton and vice versa. So congratulations on all that you've accomplished. Boy, do I look forward to working with you during the next 10 years.
Greetings, beloved. I'm Reverend Michael Malcolm, and on behalf of the People's Justice Council, I want to thank you for your tireless efforts and model of leadership. To grow from 250 to 26,000 hardworking and dedicated volunteers in 10 years is proof that you are viable. You are our elders. You are those who care. You are those who have seen and achieved. Your model of leadership shows that you care. Helping to lead and coordinate the Breathe Again collaboration to advocate for clean air and a healthy environment shows that you care. And while I know you may miss Miss Jerry Friedman, please know that she is working hard taking care of us here at the People's Justice Council. This is proof that you are not only viable, but you are vital. I wish you many years of great success ahead. And today, as always, I offer to you love, peace, and light.
Happy 10th anniversary, Elders Climate Action. My name is Ariana, and I am honored to have been a part of this journey for the past 3 years, dedicating most of my efforts with ECA's role as one of the founding members of the Breathe Again Collaborative. Our mission within this collaborative is clear: to advance understanding and advocacy at the intersection of air pollution, climate change, environmental justice, and public health. Our collaborative has been a powerful force in connecting communities at both national and local levels with resources and tools needed to mitigate environmental injustices and improve health outcomes for those most affected by pollution and climate change. The collaborative is made up of national and local organizations with a focus on the Southeast in particular. Our collective audience spans from elders to parents and families to faith communities to grassroots and frontline communities and more. And being able to work in this collaborative has introduced me to so many amazing climate leaders across the country. Do you remember all those times that we've asked you to comment on the EPA's standards and rules? Well, those efforts were part of this collaborative strategies. Over the past 3 years, working together, we've made substantial strides, hosting educational webinars, trainings, helping folks learn more about how to engage with decision makers. We've created postcards, emails, and phone campaigns, and have built toolkits to help support engagement with the EPA, members of Congress, and more. I could go on and on about the successes of this collaboration, but our work is far from over. You can learn more about the collaborative by visiting our website, www.breatheagaincollaborative.org. Our vision is ambitious but necessary. We envision a world where all communities can thrive and lead healthy lives, breathing clean air where they live, play, work, and learn. It's a vision of equity and health, of justice and sustainability. Nothing is more important. Happy 10th anniversary, Elders Climate Action. Here's to many more years of meaningful and impactful change.
Hi, ECA community. I'm Pam Vergun, ECA's newest team member, and I'm so excited to be celebrating with ECA by expanding the Elders Promote the Vote partnership with the Environmental Voter Project. Like you just heard from Nathaniel, our collaborative efforts have been ongoing since 2018 and have engaged more than 1 million voters. Thanks to the generous support of the Rosenstein Family Foundation and many donors like you who have contributed to our nonpartisan voter mobilization efforts this year, we have been able to establish a weekly phone bank on Fridays at 11 a.m. Eastern and to send handwritten postcards to voters in 3 states. Our goal was to send 5,000 postcards this year, but we blew through that and we're on track to send 20,000. As I speak, our postcard volunteers are busy writing cards to voters in Texas ahead of the general election. One of the statistics that most pleases me is that over 85% of folks who postcarded with us for our first campaign came back for one or more subsequent campaigns. And then there's one of my favorite things to do, phone banking, which EVP has found to be even more effective than postcarding. From just the end of February through mid-August, ECA volunteers of all ages have shown up 240 times and spent more than 7,200 minutes talking with voters. Our volunteers had 1,291 conversations with voters, not to mention talking with many other folks in voters' households and sharing that information with them. In a randomized controlled trial by EVP, only I think it was 1,340 voters spoken with had a 3.6 percentage points increase in voter turnout. So consider this my personal invitation to you to join our dedicated volunteers who are showing up every Friday that we can. It's a great way to meet awesome people and to share the experience with each other and with the amazing VIPs who have turned out in support of this work. And if you can't make it on a Friday, then join us for one of the other phone banks happening throughout the week. The most important thing is that we show up whenever we can. And that's something I love about ECA. You are the type of folks we can count on to show up and show up often. Let's work together to get the funding to keep our Friday phone bank community going, and so much more. I'm looking forward to sharing my future with ECA.
Greetings, fellow Elders Climate Action members. I'm Brett Walter, founder and CEO of Climate Action Now, publisher of the Climate Action Now app. Elders Climate Action was one of the first climate organizations to recognize the power of the CAN app to amplify citizen advocacy on climate. ECA Northern California chairperson Todd Weber declared the app a power tool for citizen advocacy and encouraged his chapter to adopt it. When Climate Action Now began our series of online action parties, ECA was one of the first organizations to co-sponsor and promote these events. As many of you know, ECA and CAN now jointly host a mini action party at the end of every ECA national call so that participants can conclude the event by taking action on the call topic. The fruits of this partnership have been extraordinary. As I record this, ECA members like you have taken over 229,000 actions with the CAN app, sent over 207,000 messages to their political and business leaders, and planted nearly 9,000 trees in the process. In so doing, you helped pass the historic Inflation Reduction Act and other key climate legislation into law. Friends, this is how we win. Public opinion is the only effective counterweight to the immense power of the fossil fuel industry. The industry knows this, which is why it spends hundreds of millions of dollars trying to shape public opinion with disinformation. Our opinions are our superpower, and ECA's willingness to use the CAN app to amplify public opinion is exemplary. All of us at Climate Action Now greatly value our special relationship with Elders Climate Action and thank all of you for being part of that great organization.
My name is Ken Reed Brown. I'm a member of the Coordinating Council and the Communications Committee for Elders Climate Action. I've only been involved with ECA for not quite a year, but it makes me feel so good, gives me more enthusiasm to know that I'm part of this large team of people doing our best to create a better future for our grandchildren, for all children, for future generations. When I was at a climate rally in DC a number of years ago, wonderful speakers, of course, critically important theme, but there was no music. There should always be music, it seems to me, to lift our spirits, help us keep on. This is a song by Rabbi Shoshana Mira Friedman and Yotam Schachter, maybe some of you know it, written in 2015. It's called The Tide is Rising. The tide is rising, and so are we. The tide is rising, and so are we. The tide is rising, and so are we. This is where we are meant to be. This is where we are meant to be. The task is mighty, and so are we. The task is mighty, and so are we. The task is mighty, and so are we. This is where we are meant to be. This is where we are meant to be. The storm is raging, and so are we. The storm is raging, and so are we. The storm is raging, and so are we. Well, this is where we are meant to be. This is where we are meant to be. The sun is shining, and so are we. The sun is shining, and so are we. The sun is shining, and so are we. This is where we are meant to be. This is where we are meant to be. The world is ready, and so are we. The world is ready, and so are we. The world is ready, and so are we. This is where we are meant to be. This is where we are meant to be. Yes, the tide is rising, and so are we. Oh, the tide is rising, and so are we. The tide is rising, but so are we. This is where we are meant to be. This is where we are meant to be. This is where we are meant to be. Thank you. Let's keep on with high spirits and always hope.
Elders Climate Action wouldn't exist without the dedicated national leadership team who works diligently to provide you the programming, communications, actions, and resources, curating all the best ways for you to engage in climate action. Our all-volunteer national leadership team is made up of members of ECA's Communications, Education, Policy, and Chapters Committee. These committees come together in what is known as the Coordinating Council, which is responsible for overseeing all of ECA's operations. Each of the committees is then responsible for a critical piece of ECA's organizational infrastructure. Let's hear a little more from our national leaders about their committees.
As ECA's chair, perhaps the most important thing I do is head up our coordinating council, where we're all volunteers. We come from different backgrounds, have different skills and interests, and we're spread across the country. The coordinating council's mission is to make sure that everything we do advances our climate priorities while fitting within our lightly funded capacity. The coordinating council gathers information from our members, national committees, chapters, partner organizations, and considers how we can best address the climate change challenges, of which there are so many. We're a team, a community, and when we come together, we find purpose, we see progress, and we also have fun. So let's turn now to hear from ECA's committees.
My name is Sheila Tarbett.
And I'm Roger Luckman.
And we're the co-chairs of ECA's Policy Committee. We articulate what ECA stands for, and we use that to help guide the actions of the organization. And our work also helps orient our relationship with climate allies, like those in the U.S. Climate Action Network. We also coordinate with our chapters and our education and communications committees.
And our committee has developed a comprehensive ECA policy priority statement that documents our positions on those things that we stand for. And that includes making the grid, our transportation, and buildings free of fossil fuels. It also includes curtailing methane emissions and oil and gas extraction, as well as supporting biodiversity, climate-friendly land use, and lifestyle transformation. Our statement also highlights our commitment to environmental justice. Our policy priorities are now posted on the ECA website for you all to look at.
They're informed by climate science and by ECA's mission and objectives. We want this statement to encourage and support members across the country in taking actions at the local, state, and national levels.
And we're now working on policy position papers outlining the pros and cons of some of the more controversial approaches to cutting greenhouse gases. These include nuclear energy, carbon capture and storage, and hydrogen. Many groups request that we at ECA sign on to their letters and positions related to their suggested climate solutions and environmental justice campaigns. So a policy committee letter review group decides if these requests are consistent with our positions. And endorsing our allies' campaigns provides a great opportunity for us to deepen our relationship with the larger climate movement and to magnify ECA's voice.
Our committee members bring many different career and life experiences to our work. That makes working together for me and for Sheila especially interesting and engaging. So please join us and help us continue this work.
I'm celebrating tonight as director of the Communications Committee, where I am blessed to work with other ECA volunteers who share this vision. These team members are from all over the United States, and we work together to bring you climate-relative information and to urge you to take actions to advance the battle against the contributors of CO2 into our atmosphere. Maybe you have a talent you could bring to our group. We'd love for you to join us. Meanwhile,
we recognize that we have to share what we learned with our other chapters in Elders Climate Action. That's where the Council of Chapters comes in. We have a monthly meeting with representatives from every chapter. We share and we share and we learn.
For me, that sense of community was further strengthened by volunteering and collaborating with ECA's other volunteers to further its mission of mobilizing elders to address climate change and protect the well-being of our grandchildren and future generations. I hold ECA's leadership in the highest regard, and others in the national climate change movement do too. Since my most consistent focus is assisting ECA's education team, let me tell you a bit about what our team does. We plan the topics, coordination, and hosting of ECA public programming, including once per month national calls and occasional workshops or other special events. When I first volunteered, I wasn't sure I could bring anything special to this effort. As I found out, I didn't need to worry, and you shouldn't worry either. Thanks for celebrating 10 years with us.
Like a lot of people I know, I'm becoming more and more concerned about the rapid pace of climate change. We're seeing increasingly devastating storms and disasters, air and water pollution, rising temperatures on land and in the oceans, and the rapid extinction of species of animals. It's a huge threat to everybody's future. I'm not a scientist, and I'm not a politician. I'm a grandparent, and I'm deeply concerned for the future of my grandchildren. Climate change comes at a huge cost to our health, our economy, and our security.
Elders Climate Action is a nonpartisan movement of elders committed to making our voices heard on climate change. With more than 90 million elders just in the United States, our movement draws upon the huge population of voters with concerns for the environment and for their individual legacies. As the largest voting bloc in the country, elders are well positioned to help create the political will to change our nation's energy policies. This change needs to happen while there's still time to avoid catastrophic changes in the Earth's climate. Join ECA and we will provide you with the tools and resources necessary to take climate action from the comfort of your own home and within your own community.
It's our responsibility to ensure a safe and healthy future for our grandchildren and their children and their children's children.
Join us and act now to protect future generations and all life at www.eldersclimateaction.org. That's www.eldersclimateaction.org.
Elders Climate Action chapters are groups of passionate elders that have come together in a geographic area to establish goals and actions relevant to the needs of their community. ECA chapters are engaging in all sorts of ways, including providing community education through library displays, educational programming, outreach to retirement communities, and tabling at local events. Advocating for just and effective climate policies at the city, county, and state levels through in-person and digital advocacy, including using the Climate Now app. Also, pushing for climate emergency declarations and community climate action plans, hosting events like weekly strikes, rallies, town hall events, and legislative days, building coalitions and working with other climate organizations, providing testimony or public comments on local, state, and federal issues, educating elected officials about the impact of climate solutions. Listen to Jeff Havley, former chair of the Council of Chapters and founder of ECA's Heartland chapter, as well as some of our other chapter leaders, as they discuss their work with ECA.
As each chapter starts up, much of their individual work grows out of what is happening in their local community. Like many of us, 5 years ago, I was at a point that I realized I had to jump in and do something to fight climate change. What really got me interested in ECA was that there were no climate action chapters in the Midwest. So I, along with a number of volunteers, got together and started the Heartland chapter with its home here in Greater Central Indiana.
Our chapter began with the intention to create friendly and meaningful opportunities for both individual and collective actions. And after 3.5 years, our chapter now has many moving parts, including informative and motivating speakers at our monthly meetings, a book club to sharpen our climate literacy, a monthly gathering to write postcards to encourage actions or send thanks. Of course, right now we're working on voting issues, and 4 working teams who we consider to be our fossil fuel energy sources who focus on diverse climate solutions. We are especially proud of our new tradition of giving a Good Ancestor Award to 2 community spirit people at our annual Grandparent Month gathering in September. The importance of joining a group to increase the power of me to we is part of our thinking. Here are 2 responses from 2 members who shared why they decided to join our chapter. From Marilyn, she says, joining a chapter is a wonderful way to improve my climate action footprint. I care about the voiceless generations coming after us and the positive steps we can do today to affect their future. Inaction is a decision. And Katie shares, ECA has a culture of open-hearted welcome and pragmatism that accompanies its determination to move the needle forward toward a humane and livable earth. The culture draws me in. It's a place to develop my climate fighting chops. So we send to ECA our big thanks to, for helping us launch our chapter, and even heartier thanks and congratulations on your 10-year anniversary. In my family, we call these decade markers round events, an appropriate symbol as ECA has been at work on creating circles of people around tables, promoting the circular economy, and the most important, working to protect the round sphere of our Mother Earth. May your next decade continue to roll along. Happy first decade, ECA.
It's great to be part of this celebration of our 10th anniversary of Elders Climate Action. At a recent city council meeting, I learned that Lane County was awarded an EPA grant that will give Florence funds to make the senior center a resiliency hub. Over a year ago, I encouraged the mayor to work with the county to pursue these funds from the Inflation Reduction Act. Our second success occurred when the council voted to support an investment in community resiliency and climate planning resources as a legislative priority. The final success follows from our goal to bring elders and youth together. Climate Education for Climate Educators asked me to recommend some students for a Climate Educator Summit. I recommended 2 leaders I've worked with from the environmental club at the local high school. Both agreed to help kick off the summit. In celebrating these 3 successes and reflecting on why they happened, I found it was because of local action and support from state and national entities.
Oh, wow, 10 years. That's really amazing. Congratulations to all of the work you've been doing. My name's Kiara Rutherford. I work with the Climate Action Campaign here in Washington, D.C., and we work really closely with Elders Climate Action in Arizona. I think it's really important to tell the story about how intergenerational collaboration is really critical to climate action, and I think that type of collaboration is what we need to see across the board, across all different types of issues in order to move the needle on our most pressing issues of today. Elders Climate Action has been really pivotal to our campaign, especially in Arizona, whether it's, building strong relationships and meeting with members of Congress to talk about and urge them to be strong and push for strong climate action, or hosting really fun events or activations like a Honkin' Wave in Phoenix. We are really proud to be partners with Elders Climate Action, and we're looking forward to seeing all the great work you do in the future. Congratulations again.
After the exhilarating 2015 ECA Grandparents Climate Action Day in Washington, D.C., we returned to the Capitol in 2017. After meeting with our congressional leaders, this time Northern Californians gathered with a vision to start a NorCal chapter. Back home, we've recruited members from all over Northern California. Zoom became our link, and we have met monthly ever since. We collaborate with local organizations, take relevant personal actions in our homes, send out a monthly action alert, and urge our lawmakers to confront this existential threat.
Last year's NorCal in-person gathering was based on the theme of being good ancestors. This year, NorCal is working again to create a multi-generational summit that includes elders, midlifers, and youth from the San Francisco area. In parallel, our chapter members have actively pushed our state legislators to pass good climate mitigation bills. Simultaneously, we are all working to electrify our homes, cars, and community buildings.
The highly successful Climate Action Now app was birthed in our chapter in 2022. Do check it out. It's a super fast, effective way to send messages and to legislators, fossil fuel companies, and to corporations. We want to change their ways for the good of the environment.
I'm Mayim Barron, here today with ECA Massachusetts chapter at my local farmers market to tell people all about our work. This chapter started back in 2015, and we've built up a statewide membership of over 1,200 people who get our newsletter. I feel like we built our reputation on the strength of our educational programs. We're known for this kind of science-based education and for presenting these detailed programs which go into more than one side of the complicated climate issues we're dealing with. That kind of education and research feeds into building our strength as legislative advocates in this state, which is what we see as our main mission. Let's hear from Tina.
Hi everyone, I'm Tina Grusowski with the Elders Climate Action Mass chapter. And as Mayim said, we have several teams, and one of them is the legislative team, which I co-chair with a colleague, Roger Luckman. We educate our members for their first trip to the State House for a lobby day. We teach them how to have constituent meetings with their representatives. This gets people much more comfortable with building relationships with their legislators, which is an important part of getting them to listen to us. When we come to present our views on climate, they welcome us because we're not confrontational. We present a balanced, science-based view to support the positions we take on the big climate bills here in Massachusetts. We hope that you will join us and come to a chapter meeting.
We're very aware of the many environmental issues specific to our state. When we considered what all these areas had in common, we identified one clear cause: increased greenhouse gas emissions. This recognition led us to focus on plastics. Why? Because we knew that behind plastic production was the fossil fuel industry and its mammoth contribution to these emissions. We also realized that as renewable energy has gained worldwide attention, the fossil fuel industry needed to have a plan B. And what was that? Increased plastic production, requiring more fossil fuels and thus ensuring their continued skyrocketing profits. Currently, we are focusing our attention on microplastics and nanoplastics, small particles of plastic that have been found in the human body and are considered to be related to many serious health problems. Having a plan to make a difference is what we are all about.
We've been involved in outreach regarding Earth matters for several years, using the public libraries in Montgomery County as meeting places. We feel we need to use existing structures like the libraries, community centers, retirement homes, and the village networks to help build support and resilience for the future in response to the climate emergency. Before COVID, we created displays of Earth books in many of the 22 libraries in our county system, and now we've expanded to a program we call Our Earth, meeting once a month on Saturday afternoons at our local library, and which attracts about 14 participants. Here is Kathy's poster that we used for our promotion.
We've read challenging books trying for a balance between hope and doubt. We've watched several films, shared actions to be taken, had authors come. We're experimenting using Zoom for the whole library system, and each month we send an email overview of the coming selection along with proposed actions. We've informed members of environmental legislation with member Francis Stewart, support each other in climate action, both local and national, and this has given us renewed energy and hope for the future of the grandchildren.
And this model can be expanded using public systems already in place throughout the country. We're happy to provide reading lists and assist wherever we can.
I've been involved in the environmental consulting business for over 40 years, helping government agencies and other organizations follow laws and regulations that are designed to help protect the environment. But with regards to keeping fossil fuels out of the air, it's clear we haven't done enough. We've got a global crisis on our hands. And with all my experience, I'm not willing to just sit back and let someone else fix it. I've got a few good years left, and I want to put them to good use for the sake of humanity. I want to contribute my time and energy to a well-run organization that can engage its members in actions that are urgently needed right now, not only in Southern California, but around the country. Actions like educating people on what can be done, urging our leaders to pass important legislation, and talking to businesses about how to be sustainable, and finding ways we can cut back on our own contributions to greenhouse gases. So I looked around for an organization that's taking on this challenge. There are many worthy groups, but when I found Elders Climate Action, I got really excited. It's a cohort of older adults like myself. We're growing. We've got time on our hands. We've got lots of experience, and we're eager to take action. I can't wait to help this organization grow, and I really enjoy meeting other people who have the same sense of purpose. I look forward to feeling that sense of satisfaction you get when you got collective progress. Perhaps you're like me and you're entering a new chapter in life. You realize now is the time to do the most important things that need to be done for the sake of our children and our grandchildren and for all life for generations to come. If you have that realization, please join us. You'll be glad you did, and so will they.
For me, one of the most inspiring aspects of my work with Elders Climate Action is the organization's commitment to intergenerational collaboration. Each June, we celebrate Intergenerational Month, a special time where we shine an extra light on our efforts to unite across generations to combat climate change. Last fall, we assembled and began meeting with our Youth Advisory Council, a group of young leaders from across the country who have brought fresh perspectives, insights, and advice to ECA. Working together, we planned a two-part panel discussion that took place this past June, creating a platform for meaningful dialogue and shared learning between generations. Our dedication to intergenerational work, though, goes beyond these discussions. Over the past few years, we've hosted various initiatives, including panels, intergenerational focused discussions, working groups, and even a film screening. And those efforts haven't gone unnoticed. We were honored to receive a grant from YEA Impact, also known as Youth Entertainment Activists, in recognition of our dedication to intergenerational work. As we celebrate this 10th anniversary, let us reflect on the strength that intergenerational collaboration brings to our mission. By working together, we harness the wisdom of experience and the passion of youth to create a better future for all. Let's listen to what Tony Passano had to say about his work with ECA and what it meant to him.
Hi, my name is Tony Passano, and I'm a National Climate Fellow with Change Chamber Lobby for Climate. I've been working with Elders Climate Action for about the past year now, really helping to plan our Intergenerational Climate Action Month that happened in the month of June. And I think that there's so much that I could say about the collaboration. But I think one of the first things I recognize is that, we live in a world where there's a lot of division. You see it, pretty much everywhere you go. And it's one of those things that, like, in order to work across boundaries, right? Whether it's I think with the collaboration with Elders Climate Action, it's working across age, right? Age groups. How do we come together and do intergenerational work? It's not focusing on the things that separate us, but it's focusing on the things that we share in common. And so I think we all have this shared value around understanding and addressing issues like the climate crisis or environmental crisis. As well as a commitment to take action. And I think that that's something that really came to life in a lot of our meetings, is this idea that we can talk about these issues forever, but if we're not taking action, we're not doing anything. And so I think it's really a special moment in time as an organization, you look back at the last 10 years, you also think about what the future might hold when it comes to how we collaborate on intergenerational work, as well as how do we take action. And so those are some, I think, thoughts and ideas that I wanted to provide here to you all. And I also wanted to thank you all for providing me the space to share that with you. So thank you.
Hello, everybody. It's Bill McKibben from Third Act. Not exactly taking it easy. We're all working hard on the presidential election and 100 other things just like you all. And that's why I just want to say so many thanks for all that hard work, for figuring out just how much capacity, inspiration, moral power and courage there is in the community of older Americans, and going to work harnessing it. What a privilege to get to work with you all time and again. And I will look forward to seeing you on the streets and on Zoom and in jail and all the other places where this work takes us. I can't promise you that we're going to win the climate fight, because I don't know. I've been in it my whole life, and you look around and we're not doing great, but we are fighting and fighting hard, and there are encouraging and auspicious changes on the horizon. The rise of renewable energy, of cheap solar power and wind power, gives us hope, and that hope fuels our efforts to do what we can to make sure that we make this most important transition in time. As we say at Third Act, no time to waste, and I know that you guys feel just the same way. On we go, and see you down the road.
I want to stop banks funding fossil fuels.
And I think we need to get the word out so that people understand how important lack of funding for oil is to stopping global warming.
How can we get them to stop?
Pressure. If all Bank of America's customers said, we're pulling out because you're funding fossil fuel projects, making things worse, what do you think they would do?
Should they be investing in clean energy?
Absolutely. There's so much need for clean energy, for transmission, for battery storage, for hydrogen projects, for all kinds of electric vehicle infrastructure. There's lots to fund. It's not like there's nothing to fund out there. They're just funding the wrong projects.
Big oil, big agriculture, and their banking and insurance allies continue to increase their profits, that's our money, as they threaten life on our planet. With their lobbying and advertising, spending our money, and acting collectively, they have convinced many Americans that there's no crisis. They say, we don't need change. They say, just trust us to eventually solve the problem. These are villains, and too many of our political leaders lack the moral courage to stop them. Climate litigation seems promising, but it's slow, and our courts also are not reliable. So if we cannot count on corporate and political leaders or on the courts, if we can't be sure we'll succeed by just mailing it in with our petitions, what do we older Americans have to work with? Well, good news. There are a lot of us, and plenty of us, who are willing to face up to global warming and stop it. We elders have so much more power than we may realize. The silent generation and baby boom generation together make up over 25% of all Americans. Add us to Gen Z and millennials, we will be unstoppable if, and this is a big if, we take collective action. Oh, and older Americans vote. We are the largest US voting bloc. Politicians listen to us if, that's another big if, we make clear to them in one voice what we want. So that's where turning out in person matters. We must start showing up all together to put pressure on our elected officials, to join protests, to call out the issues that we're going to vote for, to build our movement by talking about it with everybody. There are studies that confirm a surprising thing called the 3.5% rule. It says movements that engage at least 3.5% of a population have never failed to bring about the change they demand. It may not happen overnight, but it never fails. That's 3.5%, 11 million Americans, our families, our friends and neighbors. We must help them get engaged. Again, the silent generation and baby boomers alone are over 25% of the population. We can beat the 3.5% rule. And the words movement and engaged are key words of the rule. It requires taking action in person as part of a movement. To build this movement, we have to talk about it. A Yale study found that 2 out of 3 Americans say they rarely or never hear anyone talking about climate change in their personal lives. 2 out of 3 Americans. So we must all start now saying we are personally part of the movement to stop global warming. We need to talk to everybody all the time. We need to wear the t-shirts and put up our signs. So yes, we climate people are alarmists. We're also optimistic. Sitting there all alone with worry and fear is really bad for your health. Being part of a movement builds optimism. It's good for you.
You've heard a lot of wonderful stories about ECA
and what we are all up to. We hope you walk away feeling more inspired than ever to join your fellow elders in taking action to manage climate change on behalf of our future generations. There are a number of ways you can get more involved with ECA, but frankly, one of the most important ways to get involved is by becoming an active donor. ECA relies heavily on contributions from individuals like you, like me, like all of us, everyone you saw this evening. The funds raised by ECA are directly used to support bringing you things like our twice monthly Elders in Action bulletins, programming like our monthly national call, and special workshops like Electrify Your Life, as well as developing our partnerships. Now more than ever, we need to expand our staff to support all of the actions and initiatives that we sponsor and to provide much needed support for ECA's chapters and volunteers. So we hope you will give today. And frankly, you don't want to miss getting a poster of Hieroglyphic Stairway, Drew Dillinger's beautiful poem you heard earlier. Just follow the link we're dropping in the chat to make your donation. And now let's hear from NorCal chapter member Bill DeVincenzi about why he's been a long-time monthly donor.
I also found a vehicle that was really helped me become active, and that was ECA. It really kind of gave me a base for doing what I need or what I'm passionate about doing. Also, because of my financial background, this is what I did for my career, I decided to donate my skills, my financial skills, and became treasurer of Elders Action Network. I recently learned that I could switch my required minimum distribution from my IRA on our RMD, as it's called, to a QCD, which is a qualified charitable contribution. And what that entails is, instead of that money coming to you, it would go directly to a charity like Elders Action Network. The benefit is that it reduces your income rather than being a deduction from your income, and that could put you in a lower tax bracket. But you could also still take the standard deduction. So it's a win-win. If you're in a situation like me where I'm retired, I don't have a lot of, I don't have a mortgage or interest expenses or stuff like that. I can do nothing else but take the standard deduction. Well, this charitable contribution comes right off the top of my income, and so I take that in addition to the standard deduction. So it's a great way to donate. Obviously write a check. We love to get checks, but this is a way to, something you might want to look into with your financial advisor. Join me and a lot of other people in supporting the work that we're doing with ECA. Thank you.
Another important way to act is to join the leadership community. Help us research policy issues, develop strategy and programming, plan events, curate actions, create and manage social media and communications, and much more. The work of empowering others to act takes a village of committed and driven individuals.
Read the Elders in Action Bulletin arriving in your email twice a month and get busy taking as many actions as you can. Bring the power of ECA.
Attend ECA programs and learn all you can about equitable and just solutions to the climate crisis.
Start or join a local ECA chapter. Talk with another ECA leader like me to learn more about starting a chapter.
We've come up with more than 20 ways that you can get involved in climate action. We'll drop a list in the chat box.
And keep coming back. Our ongoing and continued action is critical to changing the trajectory of our climate future. Collective action builds political power, and we need all the power we can get to meet a timeline that protects our grandchildren and generations to come. Check the ECA website, find us on social media, and watch for ECA in your inbox.
While we don't yet know the full scope or the final trajectory that our work will take in the year ahead, we have already got some exciting things planned, including a new partnership with the Cornell Center for Climate and Aging. And we'll share more about this and other partnerships in ECA's plans for the coming year in the months ahead. What we do know for certain is that we intend for Elders Climate Action to be around as long as needed to implement the climate solutions necessary for a planet where all life can thrive. Currently, we're participating in many conversations internally and out there among our partnerships and collaborations to ensure that we're both prepared and we're positioned with strategies and tactics to respond to a new administration. We'll continue to work closely and make sure that our efforts align within that larger movement. As you've heard tonight, our ECA community has a collective understanding that our legacy isn't just about the money we leave behind, but more importantly, it's about being good stewards for our grandchildren's children. And we've made a commitment to creating an organization where elders can lead by example and band together to inspire and empower others to lend a helping hand, so that we can all ensure a healthy and sustainable future for generations to come. I hope we've inspired some of you to join our leadership team and to help lead ECA into its next decade. I invite you to join us and to help us grow our numbers in order to deepen our impacts, design exciting programs and opportunities, and for others to get engaged, and raise the voice and the power of our elder movement. Our ongoing action in the climate fight will be crucial to our success in the years ahead. As long as you keep showing up, sharing, and supporting Elders Climate Action, other elders can find the most important ways for them to engage too. I'll close by saying, please take action and take it often. We are building power that will change the trajectory of the future. So, cheers to 10 more years, and to each of you for showing up and to committing to do everything that you can for the grandchildren, for future generations, and for all life. Happy anniversary, Elders Climate Action.
Happy anniversary, Elders Climate Action.
Happy 10th anniversary, Elders Climate Action.
Happy anniversary, Elders Climate Action.
Happy anniversary, Elders Climate Action.
Happy 10th anniversary, Elders Climate Action.
Happy 10th anniversary, Elders Climate Action.